What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the Dread Pirate Dr. Disaster. And stop me if you've heard this one before, but it sounds as though Kathleen Kennedy might finally, actually, be leaving Lucasfilm.
Leave now and ever come back!
You ever have one of those friends that has a glaring problem of some kind that you are simply certain that you have the answer to? You give this person the same advice virtually every time you talk to them, but they repeatedly refuse to listen until it gets to the point where you've just given up. And then, when they finally do take your advice and make the move that you have suggested all along, your response is simply this:
I don't care.
You can't even be bothered to say "I told you so" at a certain point, because you're just over it. You're filled to the brim with "I don't give a shit." And that is what we have with this announcement that Kathleen Kennedy might finally, mercifully, be going away from Lucasfilm. Disney waited at least 5 years too long. Kennedy should have been fired after The Last Jedi ripped the fan base of Star Wars apart. It would have been justifiable after Solo, a Star Wars story, was the first ever Star Wars box office bomb. She should have been fired after The Rise of Skywalker landed with a dud, and she definitely should have been fired after she removed Gina Carano from The Mandalorian and then castrated that show with The Book of Boba Fett, effectively killing the only Disney Star Wars project that had a pulse. For years, as she and her team at Lucasfilm injected their progressive shit-lib crap into the franchise we loved, her repulsive character has been revealed.
Emotional f***ing cripple. Your soul is dog shit. Every single f***ing thing about you is ugly.
And now, this news is coming out that Kennedy is finally going away, and it's even being reported on by the mainstream media, who of course has been trying like hell to shill for this woman for years now. Based on the timing, I suspect that The Acolyte was finally the project that did Kathleen in. That show was so dreadful and so poorly received that it's obvious she had to go. On the other hand, it has been obvious for the better part of a decade. Disney waited too damn long, and now the news is being received by Star Wars fans who have checked out with a mixture of skepticism and ambivalence.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out,
"We don't care."
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video to drive away the evil algorithm monster, share the video with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. But for those of you who don't know, this channel of mine started out as primarily talking about Star Wars. The franchise is one of my great passions. It has meant an awful lot to me ever since I was a very little boy, and when the first few seasons of The Mandalorian came out, I started hoping for a resurgence of the franchise, and I started this channel wanting to talk about various fan theories and whatnot. I wanted to geek out about this beloved franchise, but Kathleen Kennedy has repeatedly shit on our collective childhood, pushing the message, as the critical drinker calls it, lofting it above anything and everything else that they do. And the thing is that by now, I have no more hope for the franchise as long as it is owned by Disney. It brings me no joy to say that she has finally left. I just have apathy, because the thing is, if Disney itself wasn't rotten to the core and just as bad as her, she would have been fired years ago. There was a time when I, and people like me, were pining for someone like Jon Favreau to take over for the IP, but that time has passed. With what's happened to his project, with Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian, the commodification of that series, the way that the story regressed, putting Grogu back under the care of Mando, just for the transparent sake of Disney being able to keep selling toys, yeah, I have no more faith that Favreau can do anything to save the franchise. I see nobody that can fill Kennedy's role at the company that makes me think that there's any reason to watch any Star Wars movie or show again. Skeleton Crew was the latest casualty of this pervasive attitude among once passionate Star Wars fans. I've heard that Skeleton Crew is actually pretty decent, but I cannot be bothered to watch it. Keep in mind that I'm a guy who watched all of the prequel films in theaters a minimum of 5 times. That is how dedicated I was to Star Wars. That is how many movie tickets I bought. And oftentimes I'd bring girlfriends or my brother or something like that, so I was buying multiple tickets each time that I went. The Force Awakens, I went to that movie 5 times as well. I didn't think it was a great movie, but I thought it was decent enough. I thought it was a decent enough return to the franchise's roots, and I was excited to see more Star Wars. So, Disney fooled me into buying 5 movie tickets for that one. Obviously, it was a ripoff of A New Hope, but it was at least reasonably acceptable. And then The Last Jedi came out. I went to it one time in theaters, and I almost walked out, and I have yet to watch another Star Wars film since. If you would have told me 20 years or so ago that an Episode 9 would exist for Star Wars and that I would refuse to watch it, I would have been devastated. Hell, I am devastated, but I have a free Disney Plus subscription from my cell phone carrier, so I have watched The Mandalorian with morbid curiosity at first, but I was pleasantly surprised by that show. Those were pretty decent, at least in the first 2 seasons, and the word always was that that show existed essentially outside of Kennedy's control, at least at first, but then, after the first 2 seasons, corporate and Kathleen Kennedy insisted on making changes. They insisted on making the show all about Grogu again so that they could keep selling merch, and they ruined it like they have ruined all of Star Wars. Anyhow, here is the article from The Hollywood Reporter, a so-called respectable mainstream outlet, reporting on this news. It says, after more than a decade in a galaxy far, far away, Kathleen Kennedy is charting a course toward retirement. The Lucasfilm boss has told associates she plans to retire by the end of 2025, Puck reported Monday night. Reps for Kennedy and Lucasfilm were not immediately available for comment. Kennedy joined Lucasfilm in 2012 as co-chair alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas, and a few months later took the reins after Disney paid $4 billion for the company and Lucas exited. So yeah, for as much doubt as this headline fills me with, I really do think that she is for real going away this time. And, like the friend who refused to take your obviously good advice for too long, at this point, I just don't care. For all the bluster about Disney trying to change things, they are lost. They are dead to me. Look at the news about the Snow White movie that just came out. It sounds like Rachel Zegler just came out and admitted that actually it wasn't racism that caused people to criticize her casting as the title character of that movie. It's just that people are passionate fans. Well, too little, too late. Obviously, Disney told her to shut her damn mouth and to do some damage control. Obviously, they understand what a train wreck that movie is gonna be at the box office, and Disney wants to turn things around, but it's too late. I'm not sure what it would take for Star Wars to win me back. I think they would literally have to renounce the sequel trilogy. It would have to start with that. That would at least get me to perk up. But even then, I wouldn't trust Disney. I would remain very skeptical, but I will give them this. pushing Kennedy out, and let's be real, that woman would almost certainly never voluntarily retire on her own. She is almost certainly being pushed out, but pushing her out is at least a start, one small footstep in the right direction. But in my mind, until they take many more significant steps, this is just a rebrand slapped over the same old defective package. Anyhow, I'm gonna leave it there. Everybody say their own personal adios to Kathleen Kennedy in the comment section below, and we will have a good laugh there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.